Unaccustomed as I am to starting videos with Catholic religiosity, being neither Catholic nor religious, I couldn't resist on this occasion.
Святые обители сия Господу, помолимся. Господи, помилуй.
A cathedral Christmas market has cancelled the long-standing participation of a Catholic convent on account of presumed financial ties with Russia. I have yet to see real evidence of such ties. On the other hand, I have seen evidence, because it's publicly available, and you'll see further on, of seeming threats of Ukrainian violence which might lie behind all this. This is a local matter, everything is local to somewhere. I'd suggest it's relevant to everybody, however, and on that basis I'd ask you to not forget to like the video and also share it. I know the right has substantially religious sides to it, and if people watching this video do have religious hangouts, whether online or in real life, please feel free to point them in the direction of this, because I'm sure they'd be interested, and if they've heard anything about it, I guarantee they've heard it from an extremely jaundiced perspective and not the actual perspective. So anyway, this rather idyllic setting is St. Elizabeth's Convent in Minsk, in Belarus, in, I believe, the winter. Belarus is sandwiched between Ukraine and Poland to the left there, and Lithuania and Latvia and Russia. That's the capital, Minsk, where the convent is located. The keen-eyed amongst you will have noted that Belarus is not in Russia. That is Belarus and that is Russia. Do you see? They are two different things. That shouldn't matter, because if they were Russian it should make no practical difference, but it's worth saying in the circumstances. The convent, being such, contains nuns. The nuns, being such, do nun stuff, which is basically pastoral work in the community. If we go to the ministry and have a little browse, looking after the disabled, they have an on-site care home for said objective, and believe it or not, a theatrical studio for plays and whatnot. And they go off-site into the community, obviously. They run these farmsteads where they house people with problems and problematic pasts. I mean, if you're a convicted criminal, there are worse places to end up, right? Then care in the home and care in hospitals. It wouldn't be a convent without a bit of education. They talk here about instilling moral values in the children along with the usual scholastic disciplines. This is to say, these are not bad people. Okay, to start homing in on the point of the video, they are currently in Ireland. From their Twitter, our sisters at Christmas Market Galway 2022. Now this, on the other hand, is from Winchester last year. Dear friends, the Sisters of St. Elizabeth Convent are excited to be part of Winchester Cathedral Christmas Market 2021. The photo is the same one as from Galway this year. It seems to be a stock photo, but you know, as nuns go, can't really complain. That's an actual location photo, and that is one I took a few years back. But that's one I took a couple of days ago. Somewhat empty, you will concur. I asked a trader across the way if he knew anything about this, and he said that the nuns were funding Putin's war in Russia and had been asked to leave. This seemed quite strange. So I wrote to them and I got a reply back from one brother Nicholas very speedily. His English is very good, it's not perfect, so I have made a few tweaks to make it read perfectly in English without changing any of the context. We did set up our stall, but were not allowed to open on the first day of the market. The administration of the cathedral received an objection from the local Ukrainian diaspora. They accused us of supporting Putin's war in Ukraine. As far as we can see, the diaspora threatened to picket the market and make a scandal of our presence there, so the administration did not give us a chance to say a word in our defence and made the decision to close our stall for the safety of the sisters and other traders. As far as we can see, is not definitive on the subject of threats, it's a bit speculative, so I wrote to the cathedral thuswise. Feel free to pause the video if you want, and I got this in response. Thank you for contacting us regarding the St Elizabeth Convent Chalet at Winchester Cathedral Christmas Market. Please feel encouraged to use the below as the Cathedral's official statement. Concerns were raised regarding a chalet at this year's Christmas market. After considering the matter carefully, the Cathedral and representatives of the convent in Winchester agreed to close the chalet. Kind regards, etc. I did not feel encouraged, I felt positively discouraged with such a flippant response. So I went to the cathedral office a couple of days ago and I spoke to the commercial director, who put an extremely fair case. He said it was nothing to do with threats from local Ukrainian thugs. He had seen evidence of financial ties with Russia, and the dean of the cathedral had sat down with the nuns and explained it to them, saying the cathedral couldn't be seen to be involved in anything like that. And they went on their way on that basis. Nobody thought the nuns themselves were up to anything dodgy, and they were lovely. I suppose who could dispute that? The cathedral can't risk headlines like "Cathedral funds terrorism," and we know what the media's like, so you can understand that. Bit of a stalemate. There's no particular reason for me to dispute anything this gentleman said. He didn't push me towards any specific pages, although I did ask. He suggested I do some relevant Googling and I should be able to find stuff easily enough. He did mention the local paper where they'd done an article. I did some Googling and there really isn't anything of any substance apart from that local paper, which I'll have a little gander through now. Winchester Cathedral Christmas Market Russian-linked stall banned. A Russian-linked stall has been scrapped from Winchester Cathedral Christmas Market amid fears of Ukrainian backlash in the city. So the sub-headline already hints at violence from Ukrainians. It's not really the best start. Evidence came to light suggesting the monastery actively contributes to Russian aggression in Ukraine. Reports from Belarus claim the volunteer group Help to Brothers was set up in August under the leadership of Nun Alexandra, the ninja nun. This next bit is the only bit which is conceivably relevant to the whole thing, and bear in mind the source is reports from Belarus. In one photo, posters can be seen encouraging parishioners to support the military by bringing them warm clothes, transferring money to the skarbonka, or buying a postcard and writing a letter. Skarbonka is a Polish word for piggy bank, and we don't see the incriminating photo. The claimed associations are very vague, and on this basis a Christian church cancels a Christian convent from doing Christianity. The skarbonka. And I'm sure the photo does exist, but that being the case, why don't they put something more definitive in the article? Letters with the text, "To the dear soldier from White Russia, Belarus," have been sent to the front lines, while the nuns are given lists of who to pray for. Such lists include wounded soldiers and those in captivity. Okay, so we're praying for Russian soldiers. To my mind, this is a forgivable sin and not a reasonable reason to cancel anybody. On the same Facebook page it used to announce the nuns were returning to Winchester's famous market, the monastery wished Patriarch Cyril a happy birthday. Patriarch Cyril is the head of the Orthodox Church, and this is an Orthodox monastery. This will be like Anglicans wishing the Archbishop of Canterbury a happy birthday. Again, as crimes go, I can think of worse. The head of the Russian Orthodox Church has a close relationship with Putin and formally told civilians that sacrifice in the course of carrying out your military duty washes away all sins after the Kremlin's announcement of a partial mobilization to replenish Russian forces fighting in Ukraine. I am an atheist. I neither endorse nor disavow this. Others may opine. Do we hold a convent responsible for the opinions of the head of the church? Nun Alexandra further claimed the church does not support the war, instead maintaining that it simply responded to those in need of aid. But can you trust a ninja nun? That's as far as anything to do with money goes, and here we start dialing down on the Ukrainian activist front. Born in Belarus to a Ukrainian father, Titania Salvage, who runs Lingua Fast, a language school in Micheldeva, has been a key figure in welcoming refugees to the Winchester district. So an obviously radically not impartial source, a Ukrainian left-wing activist. She said churches in both Belarus and Russia are widely used to spread propaganda because of the position of trust they hold within their communities. The bit following that bit of unsubstantiated scuttlebutt is good. The money they will raise with this stall, or at least part of it, may end up supporting Russian soldiers who go to Ukraine to kill civilians, she said. This is a non-statement. Joe Biden may wake up tomorrow. I doubt it, but he may. Anything is possible. And what? You're dressing here speculation up with the wraith of fact. And now things start to get a bit dark. It's outrageous and probably not safe for those people to even be at the market, never mind the ethical side of it. A lot of Ukrainian people would understandably be very angry, and who knows what could happen. This is a veiled threat of violence against the nuns, and she doubles down on it. I have no doubt this information is correct. Winchester is a small place and word will quickly spread. We'll make sure people know. This along with what was said at the top. A Russian-linked stall has been scrapped, etc., amid fears of Ukrainian backlash in the city. There are intimations and indirect threats of violence against Ukrainians, no, by Ukrainians against non-Russians in this article. So we have one piece of ostensibly relevant material. In one photo, posters can be seen encouraging parishioners to support the military by bringing them warm clothes, transferring money to the skarbonka, or buying a postcard and writing a letter. And beyond the claimed evidence, you have a Russian Orthodox convent which has been saying favourable things about Russia and Russian Orthodoxy, which is supposedly shocking and disqualificatory. So on the one hand, you have Brother Nicholas from the convent, who has put his case, and you have the commercial director from the cathedral, on the other hand, who has put his case. And both of these have put their opposing cases in the best possible way for their side. I don't think it was the case that they weren't given the right to reply here, but I also see no evidence of financial ties. And here you do have hints at violence against the nuns. And this appears to indirectly threaten violence against the nuns on the part of a Ukrainian activist. So what has happened here, which can be seen to approximately square all sides of the story? The cathedral commercial director told me also that this matter had been flagged up to them by a local councillor, and he reckoned that the local councillor had got it from local Ukrainians. And there is a local councillor who is quoted in that article, so I figure it must be him, and I sent him this request for clarity on the evidentiary front, which received this response, which I'll just snick some relevant bits out of. He mentioned the apparent sympathies to the Russian regime, which I've mentioned, the apparent LGBT issues. I said I'd found some bloggy stuff that talks about this. I didn't think it was worth mentioning because it's not relevant to Ukraine. The alarmed response from the Ukrainian community in the district on online forums. I did suspect this was all online and not in person. He says there has categorically not been any threats of violence towards the nuns that I have seen. I dispute that interpretation. I think Miss Tatiana's comments are threatening. Others may disagree, but I think they'd probably be wrong. Word will quickly spread. By whom? By me or by those whose actions I can guarantee, otherwise I cannot make the statement, word will quickly spread. I can only make that statement if I know it will quickly spread, and how can I know that if it's me, most likely, who's going to be doing the spreading? Pay attention to what people say when they aren't paying attention to what they say, because that's usually when they're being most honest. Then the apparent past statements by their leadership, I've covered that. The cathedral were in a very difficult position, I agree with that, as I've said. Pause the video if you want to read the whole thing. There is almost certainly no direct evidence of links to the Kremlin, and you would never find such anyway online. What there is in the article, because if it was out there, that's where they would have put it. And that is prayers to Russian soldiers. Don't blame me if this sounds ridiculous, it's in the article, you can blame them. Saying happy birthday to Patriarch Cyril.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
There is an alleged photo of posters showing parishioners being encouraged to support the military by transferring money to the skarbonka. So all this, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, has been put together and presented to a local councillor by local Ukrainians with a bit of the old, well, you know, we really don't want any trouble, now do we, as per the comments you saw in this article, and that was it. And that would be approximately consistent with everything I've been told. And it's not good. I don't blame the cathedral. But it's not the job, it's not the business of unhappy Ukrainian activists to effectively, and I say effectively, not literally, to effectively be telling Christmas markets who host nuns, who sell Russian dolls and other things they don't like, well, you know, it's probably not a good idea if this goes ahead, otherwise somebody might be heading for a beating. That is mob rule. It's mob rule and it's out of order. So if you've got some little thing going somewhere and a bunch of activists, Ukrainian activists, come along and say, well, you know, if this goes ahead, we can't guarantee everyone's safety, so maybe you should have a bit of a rethink, buddy, then invest in some good security and go ahead anyway, because if you don't, you might just be giving in to the rule of the mob. And that would be really bad. Don't forget to like and share the video.